Hey guys, welcome to the first video on this new series, this intermediate series, which I'm gonna call it. And I'm in digestion. Today we're gonna be covering the anti-ban in our script. This is pretty simple stuff. The only thing we have to know is that there are some points in our script where we will want to execute our anti-ban, and there are other points where we will not want to execute it. So the first thing we have to do is create a method that will randomly do stuff that a normal person would do. So for example, it will randomly move the mouse, or wiggle the mouse around, or move the mouse slightly, or turn the camera, or something like that. And we have to call that method inside our script. So we'll do that. Let's go to make the method first. So let's do it here at the bottom. And I know you can't see this too well, so I'll do it there. So it's going to be a private method. It's going to be a void method. It's not going to return any value, and it's only going to be accessed inside this class. And it's going to be called antiBan. So what this method is going to do is randomly decide whether to move the mouse, or move the mouse slightly, or move the camera, or lower or raise the camera, for example. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is create a random number that will be the basis of our decision. So for example, we do 0 to 20. And then we're going to use what's called the switch statement. I'm going to explain what this means. So what we did here is create a random number from 0 to 20. Actually, I think it's from 0 to 19. And we assigned it to R. And then we are doing this switch. And what basically this is it's going to get the value stored in R. And if that value is 3, it's going to execute everything there is under case 3. The value is 7, it's going to execute everything there is under case 7. The value 16 is going to execute everything under case 16. And you can do that with any number, of course, from 0 to 19. And another interesting thing is that you have to put a break after each case, so that the switch knows that only this is the case 3 and not everything. Okay, so let's start coding case 3. What do we want to do case 3 to do? Well, for example, let's tell case 3 to move the mouse slightly. So to do that, we go to mouse, and we've got here a lot of methods for our mouse, and there's one called move slightly. There it is. So we call that method, and we sleep for a few. So for example, 500 to 800. So that's the mouse will move slightly on the screen, just like that. In case 7, we can move randomly inside a box, and this box is determined by these two arguments. However, I don't know what those arguments mean, so we go to jacmom.com/rspot. I know you can't see all that. Now you can. And we go to the mouse, which is here. And we see if the move randomly, what does it do? Here it is, move randomly, minimum distance and maximum distance. So the mouse is going to move randomly between the minimum and the maximum distance we supply. So for example, let's say the minimum is going to be 10 and the maximum is going to be 50. For example. And case 16, what it's going to do is going to move the mouse off the screen. So it seems as if we are looking away or something like that. And then if we add another one, case 18, this is gonna turn the camera. So if we find the that's that. And again, camera. I think this is for how long do we want to move it randomly. Yes, timeout. So let's say in milliseconds, of course, 1,000, or a random number as well. So 800, 750 to 125. So we're gonna move the camera randomly for around the second. That's pretty standard. And that's our antiBan. That's pretty simple stuff. We can of course increase this number, for example, to 30. And not add more cases, just because, so that these 4 are less probable to execute, because we don't want to be moving the camera all the time. And then where do we execute this? For example, when we're mining is a pretty good time. So here we can do antiBan. So what we're doing is, if a random number from 1 to 15 is equal to 7, we execute the antiBan, which then generates another random number. So it's relatively unlikely that anything will occur, but since this is running so quickly and this check is happening so many times, it's quite likely that something will occur every now and again. And in the walking method, we can also do something like this. For example. So that's pretty much everything there is to the antiBan. It's pretty simple, as you can see. Just generate a random number and then do a switch. With a few, you don't want to add all of the numbers inside the antiBan, because then we will have an enormous antiBan and we will always be doing things and our script will not run. And we want to add some sleep here, for example. That. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple stuff. Especially whilst we're mining, we don't care if we're moving the camera or doing something like that. And there are people who then create a new thread for the antiBan just to move the camera every now and again. That's a good thing to do, but I'm not going to cover threads in this series. They are a bit more complicated, not too much though. We'll cover that in a future series. So I hope you enjoyed the antiBan tutorial. I hope you learned something. I hope you implement these into your scripts. Pretty useful thing to have in your scripts if you don't want to get banned. And yeah, remember to subscribe and check out the future videos in this series. See you guys then.